Hey, what's up, good people, and welcome back to the channel today for a special interview as we continue our BMF Season 2 coverage. And I am very excited to have our guest today, the super overly talented Michole Briana White, who you know as Lucille Flenory. Michole, welcome. How are you doing? How you feeling?
I'm doing good. I'm still reeling from the playback of what's happening in this week's episode. So,
Yeah.
yeah. Whew.
Yeah, listen, there's so much to cover, so little time, but I definitely want to start off by saying, one, it was a pleasure to talk to you during the junket, which that interview is available now. Then meeting you in person at the red carpet, which I got to say, once you landed on the red carpet, it's like the energy just heightened. Everything around you, everyone around you, it just really became a celebration there.
Mm.
And I got to talk to Christine Horn recently. She talked about your energy working with you, and everybody else I've known that spoke about you has had nothing but positive sentiments of just who you are. And being around that is definitely like I just felt like a better person just instantly. It's definitely
Oh my
infectious, and
goodness.
it's what we need in the world. And then with all that positivity, week after week, you just come on this show and just kill it. Kill it. I mean, some of the best scenes, some of the best performances of this season. So I was so excited to talk to you. And I just want to start off my first question by saying, like, how are you feeling about everything so far?
You know, thank you for your kind words. I really value and appreciate that so much. And it makes me feel good that I can lift anyone in any way. So thank you for that. How am I feeling? Um, I'm surprised because there's so much more happening than what it seemed like when I was actually shooting these things. And
Yeah.
we shot, so kind of sporadically. Nothing was, we were shooting a lot of different episodes sometimes at the same time, and some things were so spread out. So I didn't even remember that all of this was actually in one episode. What you just showed me, I'm like, oh Lord, oh, because it seemed like I had so much time off that sometimes it was actually challenging for me. So seeing it all come together and how people are being affected by Lucille's storyline, I'm just so full and excited, and particularly from the episode last week and the monologue in the church was that meant so much because that was one of the most important conversations I had with the real Miss Lucille about how she felt during that time and how she felt shunned by her support system. And it really shouldn't be like that. That's the place that should open its arms, and we all go through things, and everybody deserves God's love.
Ooh.
And it's important to her, like she also ministers, and she likes to minister outside of the church
Yeah.
because that's where people need it most. And so she would minister as much as she could to her sons and to the boys around her and around them, all of their friends and stuff. And that's like really so important. So I'm so thankful and so honored to be able to share her story in this way. And I think it's a voice that needs to be heard.
Absolutely. Well said. And you know what? That goes right into what I thought was going to be my first question was at the red carpet, I did see you too, and I just felt like I wanted the ear hustle. I wanted to just be a part of the moment because I knew it was a very special moment, but I could only look from afar of seeing you with Lucille and sharing moments. And like there was it truly felt like a special moment because one, these type of opportunities don't always happen, but I can just tell by how she looked at you, how you looked at her, that there was nothing but just mutual respect and love. And then from the red carpet to the after party, and it just gravitated to the same degree, but just after a while, just heightened, and it became more. So you can tell that like this is genuine. This is an absolutely genuine connection. This
Yeah,
isn't just for the red carpet, because after that, after you do the work, you can sit back and relax at the party. But
yeah.
I felt it again. So I would love just if you could share the moment with her on the red carpet and after party, and just any other conversations that you two may have had one another through this process of playing her as the character Lucille.
Well, I can just say, just the moment we met, the first time we met was on FaceTime, and we both boohooed then. And then when we actually saw each other in person, and I was like all Lucille'd out in my wardrobe, and it was just crazy how much we favor one another. That is just mind blowing. And just even talking to her on the phone, like her cadences are so similar to my family. And her and my mom are like, they look like sisters, they feel like sisters.
Mm,
She's helped me to actually understand my mom a little better and some of the things that she went through. So there is like, um I always say, I think there are jobs that you can manifest, and then there are jobs that are just divinely on your path. And this is one of those things that everything just came into alignment for this moment. And it feels so important to be able to share her voice. And I just think it's a voice that the world needs to hear, and you don't often see or hear that voice in stories like this, and the love that comes from um, this kind of family, that
yeah.
they came from a two-parent home that's loving in a Black community, but um, that they were given the tools to love and to do things the right way as best they could, but the opportunities outside the door were limited.
Yeah.
And still within that, everybody deserves God's love.
Yeah.
And yeah. Anyway,
That's so special. It's truly special. And I know that there was a videographer who filmed some of the moments, which I don't know when and where that footage is going to get released, but I can't wait to see it. So that folks can see what I seen, because it just was a completely a special moment. And just for the Flenory family in general, just
yeah,
being there, being around so much love, and just being able to really kick back and relax and realize that, like, this season is special and the story is special. And it was by all means reasons to celebrate for everybody.
yeah.
I want to know, and I mean, I want you to just be really uncandid as possible here. When you watch back your performance from episode 4, what were you thinking? Like, your truly raw, uncut thoughts when you saw
Oh,
your performance, and especially as you mentioned the monologue scene inside the church. What were you
yeah.
thinking?
Okay, true. My very first thought when I watched the episode kind of loosely the first time, and I saw it, and I was just like, okay. I was like, okay, Michole, but it kind of got by me really quickly. And then my cousin actually posted it on Instagram, the monologue. And when I took the time to really watch it all the way through, I was like, oh, I honestly, I got chills myself. And and people started saying things to me about how moved they were. But I mean, my initial reaction was I didn't get it, and there was more that I wish I could have done. I was like, I'm always in that place. But when I'm on set, actually, I do go in and I do my best to channel the energy. And so I'm always with my peppermint oil, and I get quiet somewhere, and I'm going in, and I just want to be open to whatever kind of comes through me. And I want to um, share honestly and authentically her story, her
Yeah.
voice. And so sometimes things come through that I'm not always aware of in the moment. And yeah, and so when I look back at it, there was so much more that was happening in that moment than I was really um, aware of.
Yeah.
And the importance of those words. I think we all need to hear that and be reminded of that, and not to judge what's. Everybody has their journey, and we don't always know why we go through certain things, but it always comes around somehow, some way. And I look at little Meech, and where he is, and his journey that he gets to walk in these shoes,
Mm-hmm.
and really understand his father on a deeper level, and get close to him in a whole nother way, and be
Yep.
transformed by this experience, and have the opportunity to live his life in a different way,
Yep.
um, and change, you know I mean, I think this can help change the world and change so many things, that it's really a blessing,
Yeah.
at the end of the day. And we all have our we just all have our journeys to go through, and our, sometimes there's light and sometimes there's darkness.
Yeah.
And there is no light without the darkness, and we have to find our way through that.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, while we're in it, we still need people that lift us up and hold the space and the light for us as we move through our challenges that we go through.
Yeah, it's, I mean, one, you're a star, and when you have a performance that just transcends the show, because obviously very immersed within the community of BMF, and covering the show, and obviously I'm aware of the scenes, but when I detach from the work, shall I say, not just
Mhm.
browsing, I'm looking at other random things, whether it's just animal videos or whatnot, stuff that make me laugh. It's really telling when a scene like that is used as a meme or reel for
Mhm.
inspiration for the day. And
Yeah.
when I saw that, I had to kind of go back and look like, who posted that? Because I kind of know my friends and the folks I follow who watch this show, but I had seen it and I was like, oh, see, it's being used in a different context. It's bigger than this show. It's
Yeah.
bigger than the scene. It
Yeah. Yeah.
becomes about life. And as you said, the spiritual guidance that we all are going on here. And that like was like my thoughts, much like yours. And I watched, I said, whew. I said it's gonna be pretty hard for somebody to follow this scene up for the rest of the season. And then I started to see it outside of the show, and I was like, yeah, though, that was special. That was truly, truly special. So I couldn't wait to see what you're gonna have episode 5 here, which we're gonna talk about now. Let's just get right to the questions that I know the fans are going to want to ask here. First off, we get Lucille asking Charles about the retreat to Chicago, which is means to kind of renewing, refreshing, and getting back attached and immersed back within the faith. And Charles' priorities is the business and family, and you come and say, like, I think this is actually the perfect time to reattach to the faith, to get back strong and strengthen our relationship with the faith. But he declines, and instantly Lucille goes to look for his magazine stash. I have been battling my thoughts about her actions here, their train of thoughts here. Did she, or better yet, before I ask, what was her train of thoughts here? And upon, if Charles declines, I need to go look for the stash. What was the train of thoughts here? What's the connection here?
you know I mean, there's already something going on because the magazines were there before.
Yep.
And the distance between them is there. She can feel him pulling away. And you know insecurity uh comes in.
Yep.
And you're trying to validate your intuition
Intuition.
somehow.
Mhm.
Yeah, something is going on and something ain't right, but you can't put your finger on it necessarily, so you're trying to find a way to um identify that thing, or to validate yourself in some way. And your insecurity can get the best of you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ooh, this season was really hard. Child.
Oh, Lucille. Oh,
Yeah.
bro, I just the emotional roller coaster here. I mean,
Yes.
I feel like we're gonna have to talk once again at the end of the season, because it's been an up and down
Yeah.
road here, and
Yeah.
I've been emotionally connected with this character as well. Again, by way of your performance, you just can't help but to say, like, man, Lucille's just not getting a fair cut this season. So
Mm.
she doesn't find a magazine stash. So that leaves me with my question is, so what okay, let's kind of play both sides of the coin here. So she didn't find a stash. So to me, the thought now goes, okay, the investigation continues. But my co-host and Lucas said, because he asked me, what did I pick up on this scene? I said, well, I think she was, prying on her, or relying on her woman's intuition, and it wasn't there. So she said, fine, I didn't get him here, but I'll get him. My investigation continues. And then he said, well, I bet you she thinks that, well, if it's not here, he must not need it anymore, which means he must be getting this sort of release somewhere else. Is that a
Mm,
safe assumption to think that
mm,
at this moment, this is what Lucille's thinking?
mm. I don't even know if I thought that, but I'm like, ooh, I don't know if she's gone that far,
Okay.
because I'm like, who child, man, that ain't right.
Uh-huh.
Because you don't really want to see all that. You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
somewhere you don't want to, but you don't want to believe that,
Yep.
and that is like that, but you feel something is off. So I don't
Mm-hmm.
know that she's gone to the place where she's seeing him, do all this stuff
Yeah.
uh right now,
Mm-hmm.
um it's uncomfortable as hell.
That
I'm gonna
that
tell you that.
that
I mean, it was uncomfortable to do it. It's uncomfortable to watch it. I'm just like, ooh, yeah. Um,
Whew,
yeah. Every
that's it.
moment is just like, ooh, Lord.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
It, and I jokingly say, and my co-host Lucas again always says that like the real villain in this series is Charles. So he's pretty much like at some point his true color is going to get revealed as we slowly but surely start to see that happen. Which again, I'm Team Lucille. I'll keep saying like she's just not getting a fair cut this season, and here go Charles is making it all worse. And I and I
Yeah.
and I and I I do want to just ask one other thing really quickly on this particular scene. So this isn't so much a matter of she doesn't trust him, because I feel like, and by what you're saying, and maybe this is sort of how like I'm personally feeling about it, connecting to the character. She, it's hard to say she doesn't trust him, because when you don't trust him, you're either trying to rebuild that trust, or you also, as you mentioned, trying to validate that trust. But that's still a very scary but risky thing, because you don't
Yeah.
want to be proven right here. So
And,
go ahead.
yeah. And I think she knows that, they've been missing each other. And on some level they're both responsible, and so she's trying to change things and acknowledge where she's maybe missed it, and trying to make amends and make it work out,
Yeah.
um and trying to just acknowledge her stuff, and how can I be what he wants, more of what he might need, and I mean, I have to say, for him, I mean, I feel for him too a little. I mean, I really don't, but that's my boy, and like,
Yeah.
he's still justified in how he feels too, because he feels like I'm missing him, and I'm not seeing him and his needs. Although I feel like he's been a little selfish, you know.
Yep.
Um, but maybe we both are. But what I do know is their love for each other is really real, and really deep, and it's really challenging what they're going through, and you know and all that stuff, just not being seen, trying to find an
Mm,
outlet, all that stuff can make you do a lot of funky things that ain't right.
this
Ain't none of
this
it right. Yeah,
yeah.
I'm mad as hell about it still. Truth be told. Mhm.
Let's go to your next scene, as you return back from the retreat, and you dismiss Nicole. I love all the scenes with Lucia and Nicole, because that's very much of my childhood. Now, when you get older, you kind
Mhm.
of think about like the things that your parents did or said to kind of dismiss you or get you out the way, and it doesn't be true. But like, go do something that's completely not relevant or at context at the time, but they obviously trying to, move you away from what's really about to go down. As she approaches Sister Rally and wants to know, are you sleeping with my husband? I see how
Ooh,
you looking at each other and your music and all that. And that, like, I felt this scene too.
ooh,
What's going on here? Talk me through this scene.
man. I mean, it takes a lot to for a woman to step to another woman and ask something like that. I mean, that is like, that was hard. um and you know, she's still just trying to get to the truth, trying to get to the truth, and understand, and hoping that, you know, she's trying to be validated.
Yep.
And
Yep.
and she is insecure, and the fact that she needs to ask somebody like that still says that something is going on, something ain't right. She can't put a finger on it,
Mm-hmm.
but it's like somewhere deep down you just know
Yeah.
something, and then you kind of pulling at straws, but you know something ain't right. Your intuition is always right on telling you something.
Yep.
And so, but you know, I don't know that it's necessarily the right thing to do to ask her, but boy, it takes a lot of courage to put yourself in that position to do that. So that also was hard as hell, because I don't know if I could really if I could really do that. You know, it's like, well, you
Right.
should be able to have this conversation with your man, but then if you feel like you can't really trust your man, what's I don't know. It's just like, ooh, it's just all just ooh.
Yeah, and anybody
Mm.
knows you don't want your personal business inside the
Right,
church.
right. It's
So you
like, damn,
subjected yourself to that, and
right. It's
so
like, dang, yeah.
so the matters of going on a retreat was about reconnecting with the faith, and I feel like I'm gonna ask this question twice, but do you think that was succeeded here, or was it truly just about trying to get close to Sister Rally to figure out what's going on?
I think she was trying to, you know, get close to Sister Riley and find out what was happening.
Mm.
I do. I mean, and I think she kind of wanted the, you know, retreat too, but yeah, I think it was all about that. I do think she's been a little more manipulative
Okay,
this season about certain things, but justifiably so.
for sure, for
I
sure.
think, you know, so uncomfortable.
Yeah. Well, I will
uh,
say, although this is sort of a result that I'm sure Lucille wasn't expecting, but now being 0 for 2 in her investigation, it seems to, at the end of this conversation with Sister Riley, seems to be like a sigh of relief, like, okay, maybe I am wrong. Maybe I do need to just, again, focus on the faith and not my insecurities or whatever bit of categorization that she's considering herself to be in this situation. Because I felt like, once she was told like it didn't happen, she was kind of like, okay, let
right.
me back up off of this a little bit now, which brings us to our next scene
Mm,
where
mm, mm.
she returns back home and Charles washing dishes in fantasy land. I love this. I love this little tidbit by Nicole too, saying, "Lucky you wasn't there." Now, I just want to ask because as a kid that had to go on a lot of church retreats, there was
Yeah,
some I liked, some I really didn't. Is
yeah.
this just her not enjoying it, or was Nicole a witness to maybe a tirade of Lucille's actions for trying to seek truth?
I think she can see her mama from a mile away. Like, what are you doing? Yeah, she can see all of it. It's so embarrassing. It's just, it's not right. Oh my goodness.
Oh
Oh,
man, oh man. Oh, I'm in tears. That's too funny. That is
it's
too
right.
funny. But she comes in complete empathy and apologizing for her action, and has now set a path forward. Charles is saying that it's just been a long day and whatnot, and Lucille comes in and I again provide solution and saying, but the day is not over. And that saying to me says like, while everything may not have been good this morning or this afternoon, we still have opportunity to change things around, which I felt was a very like spiritual saying here to reverse
Yeah.
this negativity within the household here.
Mm-hmm.
But Charles maybe didn't buy it instantly. I will say he felt a little distant here. But nonetheless, this results into both of you two. I will say both Charles and Lucille taking a swing at intimacy here, by him coming out the shower and you in the lingerie, which by way of Nicole's credit card, not Lucille's credit card,
Right.
Nicole.
Right. Wrong.
um,
Mm-mm-mm.
but talking through this scene now, I and as much as this is a win for both Charles and Lucille, because now the intimacy is there. Lucille looks happy. Charles, I really think the show didn't depict what Charles' true thoughts were. I'm sure his mind was somewhere else, just like he was watching Distance. Maybe, maybe not. But let's just talk about Lucille here. What was she sort of feeling in terms of reconnecting with Charles and having this moment, and should I say succeeded into reconnecting?
I mean, I think this, when I think about this, it makes me cold mad personally because it's like, your intuition said this thing, and now you found out some information, and now you think it's all your fault, kind of. And so you're taking on all the responsibility, kind of. That makes me so mad. But yeah, it's interesting to hear your perspective of, they're both giving it a shot, but he all in another place thinking all these other things. Like, is he
Yeah,
really, you know what I mean? I mean, that's what I just saw, in the clips you just showed me.
yeah.
And some of those things I have not seen yet at all. So you just caught me way off guard. So I was like, oh, hells no. So yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't know. It is, I guess it's a shot for both of them, but really, yeah,
it's
I don't know.
it's it's definitely by effort of Lucille, and Charles is being visible here,
Charles is
and
being visible or in.
yeah, visible, just being there.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
it. There's no effort, sort of say
yeah,
he's
right.
there, and it is truly about. I mean, because even beyond this, you say like Lucille came back, she apologized, which is a step forward to a solution.
Mhm.
Also providing a very a solution for us. Say like, listen, let's change how today's going. Today's not over.
Yeah,
Obviously by physical touch, which is a love language. So trying to connect with him, rubbing him, and then coming out and being sexy and say, let's do this. And Charles is just like, okay, and rather the events earlier led him to want to reconnect with his, his sexual side to want to do this, or is he just mine in another place? Which that right there is going to be the big question for episode 6 is, well, what happens now? Does the investigation stop? Does Charles start acting different? Does this restart anything? There's obviously still Mabel that, what is her intentions? This neighborly person that is very fond of the Flenorys, but also home record possibly here? Or is just
yeah,
Charles is truly the bad guy, like everyone is saying, the true villain of all of this, and he's playing both of these women,
right. I mean, I can't call him the true villain, but I guess maybe that's because you still have to justify your actions, and I'm sure
Yeah,
he's really challenged with
for sure.
how and torn and wanting to be seen,
Yeah,
and I'm missing him, and you know um and still wanting his needs to be met, on just wanting to be seen. We all want to be seen,
right, right,
and but I want to be seen too. So dang, like,
right.
and I'm working hard and doing all these things, at Wendy's and this and that, and he caught up in his dream, you know.
Hmm.
Oh,
Yeah.
child, I just can't with this whole season. I'm just like, oh my god, it's so uncomfortable.
It is a ride.
Uh,
I have one more question, but another question is quickly stuck in my head because thinking about the other things that kind of went viral last week, because folks love this show, so they always, people are taking tidbits out and things are just going viral, whether they're memes, gifs, or reels, whatever it may be. Everybody wants to know, when Charles pulled out this money to give to Meech and Terry, said, "This is my last, y'all better stick together," so on. There was a moment where folks were saying Lucille was looking like, well, where the hell did that money come from?
right. What the heck? Right. Why am I working my ass off at Wendy's? Wait, what? Child. I saw that picture. I meant to post that. I saw that picture of him with the money. I was like, dang, I didn't even remember that scene. I don't even know if I remember the money. I'm like, wait. Ooh, child. Mm-mm. It's rough out here in these streets.
Oh man, no, that's hilarious. So for the final scene, and before we wrap up here, Lucille is getting ready to she's a foot on a step in the right foot now. Everything's better after that, you know, and she's preparing lunch and Nicole's there. It's just her and Nicole.
Yeah.
And somebody knocks on the door, and I gotta tell you, watching this, I was like, well, who could this be? No clue. It would be the devil himself in Lamar. And I want to kind of narrate a little bit of this really quickly, and then I'm gonna throw it to you. Lucille is, you know, chopping up vegetables with a knife, and she leaves it there. The camera focuses on the knife being left there. She gets to the door. She's obviously shuffling in her apron to find that knife. And she comes. Lamar obviously has declarations to saying, like, where's the boys? Somebody's getting killed here. He's the devil. His license plate literally says 666. So he comes in and he says, I'm sorry, ma'am, as if he's getting ready to take actions in his own hand by casualty of Lucille. She decides that this will be the proper time to have a prayer and use the power of prayer and faith to get him to walk off this cliff that he's ready to go off on. Maybe 2 or 3 questions here, and I'll allow you all to answer them all. Number one, if she had that knife, would this scene had not played out the way it did? 2, because she did use the power of prayer, does this only show and reinforces her belief in faith that she was able to de-escalate this? And then the third question is, what was her thoughts immediately once she closed the door?
Oh man. If she had a knife in her pocket, would it have played out differently? If he had attacked her,
okay,
I'm sure she would have, you know, she was, because, and that's another thing where intuition just steps in. She didn't know him, you know, it's just, it's just in her gut. She knew something was not right. I am not safe in this moment. How can I protect myself?
Okay.
And then there was no, prayer was her only weapon that she had. And in that moment, she didn't know what would happen, but that's what she had. Is all she had was her faith in that moment. And Spirit showed up and protected her. And then after, you know, that moment went by, it's still like terrifying of the thought of what could have happened. And you know, the magnitude of what her boys are into, and what that somebody may want to take their lives, or even her life. I mean, it's all just a very scary thing. And thank God for her faith. So I know in that moment I would be doing the same thing, like, Lord Jesus, I don't know. Oh my Lord, what? Come on now. You know, like, whoa, what you gonna do? So I'm so thankful she had that, and it was just wonderful to play that scene with him, and I was really wanting to work with him and have a moment with him this season. So that was really exciting.
That is so awesome. Oh my man. This is, it's been lovely talking to you. And as I mentioned, we probably going to have to talk again at the end of the season, because I would love to talk the complete story arc of Lucille. And as we are only 5 episodes in now, about halfway through. I think it's 10 episodes this year, so we're halfway through. We'll have to come back and do it in another 5. But Michole, I mean, listen, nothing by any bias or any bit of just, you know, trying to gas your head up or anything. You have been fantastic this entire series. And then season 2, I know that the theme of season 2 is elevate.
That's right.
And let's add 3 more elevates on top of that for you, because man, did you bring it and double down this season. And I just can't wait to see what happens the rest of the season with you. And then you're such a lovely person.
Thank you. Same to you, love. Can I share one funny thing?
Oh, for sure.
So like the bedroom scene.
Yes.
Oh my God. It was just like leading up to that was like so uncomfortable too, you know, that you have to shoot this and, you know, you're in a room with all these people and all this stuff. And so it was like, oh my gosh, there was so much energy geared towards that that we actually shot the car scene after that with the kids where we're singing and stuff like that. And so we were so relieved that that scene was over and we were singing our heart out. There was so much extra energy in that scene where we were like, woo, that's the jam. You remember that? Oh my God. We were in that song. It was hilarious. Just the freedom we felt after shooting that. It was so good. It was so much fun.
What's so funny about that to the next degree is as adults, when you do adult things and you
Yeah.
have to be around kids and you
Right.
have to have this kind of like, oh yeah, nothing's going on here. It's
Right.
like the same thing here. You're like, oh, we just did this scene. We're gonna act very awkward and sing this gospel to the top of our lungs, and y'all not
Right.
gonna know anything that had happened before.
Right. Right. We all good. We had everything, baby. It's just roses over here.
Oh, man. Well, Michole, it's been a pleasure to talk to you. And fans, jump in the comments. Give her your
Yeah.
flowers, her flowers right
Mm-hmm.
now. Keep up with her on all social media. Let us know your thoughts about Lucille, your predictions about Lucille going forward. And y'all
Ooh,
know what it is. We'll be back with more content reviews, interviews, and all that other good stuff back here very soon. Thank you for watching, folks.
thank you, love. Thank you so much.